The one hunt that I look forward to every year that really starts the season out, it's one of those hunts that we're anticipating. You know, fall's in the air. Those big bucks have been growing those big velvet antlers the entire summer long, and everything is starting to come to a head. So on the 24th of August, there would not be one other place that I'd rather be but in Alberta, Canada with Blake Schmear from Big Time Adventures.
Western Extreme, brought to you by Bowtech Archery, refuse to follow. Can-Am, the facts say a lot, but the ride says it all. Irish Setter Boots, the hunt never ends. Shell Rotella, the engine oil that works as hard as you.
You know, Alberta is the new Saskatchewan. It's the one place that mule deer population is actually growing. They have age, nutrition, and genetics all in one place. This mecca, this epicenter, a place where these deer are able to grow to maturity. Blake is a die-hard deer hunter through and through. Not only has he become a good friend, but this guy works all year long scouting.
Here's a shed set from 2012. This buck grew an amazing 250 inches of bone last year. World-class deer, he still is, just an ancient old warrior.
And so when you show up in camp, it's really an exciting time because Blake has spent the entire summer out with a video camera, videotaping those bucks as they're starting to grow their antlers. And by the time they hit early August, they really have their frames up. We know how big they're kind of going to be. Blake's looking at the home range, where those deer are actually living. He spent all winter long and all spring long looking for shed antlers, anything and everything it takes in order to find those big deer, videotape them, and prepare himself for the hunters to arrive in a few months from now. You know, us archers are gadget guys. We have Allen wrenches in our pockets. We're always adjusting something. We're trying to micro-tune our bow. We're trying to become as efficient as possible. Confidence is so important. To be able to leave that morning knowing that you're going to set a field and that all of your equipment is completely up to par and that you have it completely sighted in and you're ready to go. And so what better way to do that than to practice? I personally like to sight my bow in all the way out to 130 yards. Now, am I going to shoot an animal at 130? No. But if I can shoot at 130, then a 70-yard shot should be a slam dunk in the right conditions with very little wind. Well, the wind's completely died down and we're scouting basically tonight for tomorrow morning. And we're looking at a few bucks here or there out in the Canola. It's funny how the diversity, I mean, it could be a mile up the road or a mile to the west or the east, and the weather pattern is completely different. And they got put in the ground at the same time, but the Canolas can be a lot drier and a lot thicker and a lot taller. Two different diversities is pretty amazing. So again, finding the right field at the right time, the deer just kind of know where the good vittles are. Now, one of the prime food sources for a mule deer this time of year is in the canola. The canola is like a spider web. It's a very tight-knit stem type plant that's really hard to stalk in. And not only is it difficult to move, but it's extremely noisy. And to be able to spot and stalk up to 40 yards from one of these deer, you definitely have to have a little wind and luck on your side. It's opening morning. We've already found what we're looking for. a giant, a real giant. One of my personal hunting goals is to be able to take a mule deer over 200 inches. And less than 200 yards away, right on the other side of the timber, in a small little cutout, a giant is feeding just on the other side of the timber. This is one of those moments where you just start thinking about all of the things. Slow down. Don't blow it. Hindsight's always 20/20, but when you're in the moment, the smallest decisions can be the difference between failure and success. I'm closing the distance, less than 100 yards. I've got to be able to position myself, find just the right opening amongst the brush, try to get within my effective range. He's so close, but yet so far away with the wind, as luck would have it. This buck, instead of feeding towards me, decides to feed away. And my goal, my dream of a 200-inch mule deer, mysteriously walks back into the timber.
Every year I get here and I have a dream about shooting a deer that's over 200 inches, and I've been able to stalk quite a few of them. I've got a deer that's 196, I have another one that's 197, but I've never broke the 200 mark, and the deer out in front of us just a few minutes ago was over 200 inches. Just a spectacular, beautiful, mature mule deer buck. Just, man, it's what dreams are made of. And even though shooting the biggest thing is not the biggest deal or the part of the hunt, it sure is rewarding when you even get to see a deer like that, and then have a tag in your hand and have an opportunity to stalk a deer like that is a really big deal. He just walked away from us. He was at range, and then he was out there 88 yards, not just too far in the wind, just out of my effective range for today. So we're gonna keep hunting this deer as long as we can find him. We're gonna keep stalking him.
Now, here in Alberta, Canada, it's pretty special because August the 24th is the day that the bow season starts. On average, a local has to draw for that tag to be able to hunt a mule deer, and having a non-resident tag through the outfitter allows you to hunt those deer. And so what it's done is allowed all of these big mature mule deer bucks to grow to age. And so it's not unlikely over the course of 4 or 5 days for you to see 5 or 6 really good, typical 180-inch type deer.
So where are those other two bucks that are in there?
Boy, that's a neat deer.
Yeah, he is.
Even if there was a deer that might have been a little bit bigger on the other side, I think that's the one that I'd definitely look at. He's got so much character.
Well, those two flyers are probably 6 inches apiece hanging off the side of them.
You know, the problem with me stalking that deer is that I just can't get over that deer that's over 200, you know?
No,
I just got to stay off the trigger long enough, and it's not good for me. It's not healthy for me to just be sitting here looking at another deer that's bedded down with the wind like this, knowing that I probably could get it done, but...
And it is only opening morning. We're
I know.
4 hours into deer season here, so we got lots of time. Just be patient.
He is so neat, though.
Yeah.
Now we stalked this buck within our effective range. Jordan's over my shoulder with the camera, and now all we have to do is wait for this big buck to stand up. We were 2 or 3 hours into the wait, and we look over, and a coyote comes running up to 5 yards from us. One of the neatest encounters we've ever been able to share here on Outdoor Channel. As the sun starts to get lower and I'm waiting for this buck to stand up, always wondering whether something's going to blow it and I'm not going to have the opportunity. And then all of a sudden, the wind switched. It put this whole entire hunt in jeopardy. And so always, your first strike is your best strike. Now yes, I'm within this effective range, but there's no way that I can get around the right wind, and with it swirling like it, it's only a matter of time before this big buck gets up and takes off. So I decided against my will that I'm gonna actually leave this buck bedded down, and I'm gonna hopefully be able to get on him another day. Well, this week we're in Alberta, Canada with my good friend Blake Smear from Big Time Adventures. And yes, we're going after mule deer with a bow and arrow.
Over the years, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've been hunting these mule deer out here. I think this is my 8th consecutive year, and so I built a little recipe. I lose my man card every time I do this, but just wanted to go through the procedure on how I do this. Obviously, I've said many times, you can only move as fast as you are quiet. So the recipe of that. Now, when I selected my footwear to come out here to Alberta, I needed a hiking type boot that was athletic, that had a very narrow profile on the bottom of it, right? That allows me to have very small footprints, and I use these to get out to the deer, and then a lot of times I'll take them off, and that will allow me to be as quiet as possible. Now we're hunting in canola today. Canola is really, really noisy. It's like a spider web. You got to be able to use a narrow foot. In fact, when I walk in it, a lot of times I'll take the tip of my toe and I will dip it in there like an arrow to allow me to have a very small profile before I put my foot on the ground. The other thing that I've done is I wear long johns. It won't snag on anything. They're really tight to my body, and they allow me to be completely quiet. I've got some wind today that's really going to help. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll put like a little slipper inside if I feel like I'm going to be walking on some stuff that poke into my feet. Not worried about it, but it really does help me, because every time that I feel out of balance or something's poking me, I'm not able to be effective and I don't have good balance. So again, I'm going to throw these socks over the top, and I've got something with a really good nap in them, really, really tight. That's going to keep a lot of the debris and stuff out of them so that I don't get a bunch of clogging, and it makes me track a lot of dirt around. But anyway, this is the recipe, guys. And then the last thing that I'll do, if I know I have a really long stock, I'll go ahead and tie my bow to my back like that so that I can use all fours if I'm going to crawl. Today I feel like I'm going to be able to stand up. The canola is just tall enough, so I'm going to leave the pack, use my socks. I'll lose my man card wearing long johns on Outdoor Channel, and my purple bow, deadly combination.
What happens when the vegetation is even shorter and then you're stalking amongst them? Just like this buck. He was bedded. I made the perfect stalk. And then all of a sudden I was waiting for him to get up, and he just picked his head up above the canola, looked up and said, "Nope, that looks like Jim Burnworth from the Outdoor Channel. I'm out of here." And he took off. And there's no way to predict that. If that canola was 3 or 4 inches taller, that buck would have had to stand in order to see me, and that would have gave me the perfect opportunity. But this mule deer buck, he didn't get old, wise, and big for nothing.
You know, when you're out here and you're watching television, you think, that's pretty easy, I can make that stock. You know, they desiccated this field 2 days ago, and as you can see, all these leaves right here, look at all the leaves that are underneath the underbrush. And so the deal is you have to be so quiet. I had to move when the wind was moving. And then this is kind of a thin canola patch right here. So the buck can see out, you know, quite a ways. And the angle, I was really paying attention to that. I had like a little hump to hide behind, and when I got to when it got to the right spot, I would only move when the wind was, and of course I want to try to get closer and closer and closer if I possibly can. I was using the wind, and then he finally heard me, and instead of rising from his bed like they do, he decided he was just going to pick his head up over the canola to look at me. Knew that I was a threat. Obviously had watched outdoor television, and knew the Western Extreme show, and that I had a purple bow in my hand, and that he decided to skedaddle. So unfortunately we did everything right, and the deer didn't do what he was supposed to do, which was just simply stand up. This is what we came to Alberta for. We got a legitimate stock, about a 6 or 8 mile an hour wind, right along the wheat field, right next to the canola, buck bedded, heads buried, perfect scenario. This is it. Coming down to the wire, we gotta make it happen. His eyeballs are completely hidden, and we have the wind. We have a really good opportunity. I have to tell myself, calm down, slow down. I'm placing my feet as quietly as possible, only moving when there's a small gust of wind. Paying attention to the antlers, the direction, the movement, where his ears would be. Setting a goal for myself for that 40-yard barrier that I know is within my effective range. The right distance that I've learned over the years to be from the deer. I finally arrive. Now, it's a waiting game. So awesome, bro. Did you get video?
Yeah, I got it all on
That
page.
is awesome.
Sweet too, man.
Man, everything just worked out. You know, the canola was really thick in here, and I had, it almost felt like I cheated, because I mean, I've been in the canola for days trying to, you know, get the deal done, and then there was just like this perfect pathway. Like everything was just shining down on us, and we were able to just sneak right in there.
It was perfect. Textbook stock, great shot.
When it
Perfect
comes
wind.
in, it comes in, you know, and he
Yeah.
stood up. You know, we've thrown rocks over him. You know, we've made noises, we've tried to get him up before, and the absolute best way to shoot a mule deer buck in his bed is to wait it out, even if it takes you hours before he stands. Again, the mule deer buck will pop his head down, and then he'll bring his back end up, and you'll know that he's going to stand up, and you have plenty of time to make that shot. Didn't even know I was there.
Naturally let the deer get out of his bed.
Yep.
Can't
Yeah,
go around.
well, guys, you went up around the corner, so let's go and let's go recover this
Sure,
buck.
let's go, man. I'm excited.
We've got really good blood right here. I think the deer's up here. There he is right there. There's our deer. We did it. Alberta. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I am very proud to be an American, but for 1 week a year, I want to be a Canadian chasing some big mule deer buck. These guys are spoiled, stinking rotten, you guys. It's exciting out here. I want to look back right now at some of the deer that we were able to capture this year on camera. I'm really proud of them. Some of them over 200 inches. Now, the largest mule deer buck I've ever taken with one arrow is 196 inches. I've never broke the 200 mark, and that was our goal this week. We made some really awesome stalks. We saw some really big deer, well over 185 inches. And here we sit with another great mule deer buck in Alberta. And guys, if you love to find a resource, and you've seen me back, this is my 10th consecutive year out here with big black bears, monsters, you know, over 400 pounds. Then some of the free-ranging, huge Alberta whitetails over 220. And every year we find a buck,
you know, mule deer wise, it's over 200. This is the land of the giants. This canola, everything about this food source early in the season. So if you like to hunt big stuff, Alberta is definitely a place. Blake, I want to thank you very much, man.
My pleasure.
And I know that the viewers have really responded and they've loved watching the shows every year, and that's why we're back again. I want to invite you to go to Blake's Facebook page at Big Time Adventures. He does a lot of really cool stuff. This guy is a deer hunter. It's in his blood. It's who he is. And some of the resource out here is awesome. And so again, and I also want to thank you very much for dedicating to watching Western Extreme every week. We're getting better and better and better, and we're showing more and more great shows. And we love the Outdoor Channel. And we love the fact that you guys are watching and supporting us, and we truly appreciate it, from our family to yours. And we'll see you again next week right here on Western Extreme, out chasing something wild out west.